Good morning, afternoon, evening, whenever you're watching this. Jags to Riches, James Peters, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it more than you could ever know. Welcome to Celtics Corner. Today I want to quickly recap the Boston Celtics and Charlotte Hornets game from last night. Now, if you didn't get a chance to watch it yet, I would strongly recommend first checking out Beast Move, Bobby's video. He actually does a live reaction to the Charlotte Hornets game. So maybe you missed some of the game, you didn't watch it, you didn't get to watch it at all. I would check his video out first, just so you can be up to speed maybe with some of the things I'm going to talk about. So for this video, basically you'll see I'll get straight into the box scores for each team, and then I'll just get straight into some of my key takeaways. And then at the very end, I don't want this to be too long, but at the very end, there's a few popular narratives and storylines going on right now that I'll just address. I won't really go into a deep dive, but at least address so you know that maybe that's some content that we'll be creating coming soon. So excuse me as I transition over. So, last night, the Boston Celtics lost to the Charlotte Hornets 111-102. Now, coming into the game, both teams were actually hot, winning 5 out of the last 6. And straight to the box score, as you can see here, from the Celtics side, my player of the game was Dennis Schroeder. Now, Schroeder finished with 24 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 steals on 37 total minutes. He was 9 for 16 from the field, 5 for 8 from 3. Following him up, Jaylen Brown with 21 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists. Now, looking at some of our other starters, Al Horford, 13 points, 10 rebounds. He had 4 assists. He was 2 for 4 from the 3, 5 for 7 from the field. Not bad, Al. Grant Williams and Jason Tatum really got in foul trouble, especially early. I mean, just to give you an idea, there was a point in the first half where Grant Williams had 13 total minutes played, and he had 3 points with 4 fouls. So, same with Jason Tatum. He had 3 fouls in the first half. Now, one of them was kind of BS. It was the Kelly Oubre who was doing the 360 dance move, selling it, flopping, and, it worked. So, really, that just kind of got Jason Tatum into one of those frustrated hands up in the air, and he just was out. I was hoping for, it to be like the Bulls game where he had 6 points in the first half. The New Orleans game where he had 6 points in the first half and then bounced back and had 21 in the second. That was not the case. As you see, 5 for 19, 0 for 7 from the 3, 12 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists. On the bench, we had Josh Richardson with 10 points. We had Romeo Langford, 11 points. Transitioning over to the opponent, showing them some love. First and foremost, Terry Rozier, player of the game on their behalf, absolutely sliced and diced us to the tune of 28 points, 4 rebounds, 10 assists. The man was 6 for 11 from 3, 10 for 18 from the field. Backing him up was his other backcourt mate in LaMelo. Jesus, these damn Ball brothers. LaMelo Ball with a triple-double with 15 points, 10 rebounds, and 10 assists. And then Miles Bridges, maybe my most improved. I mean, is he an all-star? I mean, it's a good question, right? I mean, this kid is absolutely phenomenal this year. He is clearly taking that next step, and by the way, it's perfect timing seeing as how he's on a contract here. We'll get to some of these players in a second, but Miles Bridges, 22 points, 7 rebounds, 2 assists. He was a plus 12. Some of their other players, looking at Gordon Hayward, this was actually his first return to Boston since leaving. He has not actually played in Boston. No, this was his first time, and he actually was 2 for 4, only shot 4 times, 4 attempts. He had 5 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals. And then you had Plumlee, who actually did have 6 points and 10 rebounds, in addition to possibly the greatest free throw attempt you'll ever see. Now, McDaniels off the bench with 12 points, 3 rebounds, 2 blocks for them. PJ Washington, 1 for 4 in 19 minutes, only 2 total points. So, transitioning back, guys. Some of my key takeaways from this game. So, like I said, both teams coming into this game hot. 5 out of the last 6 games. The Boston Celtics over that stretch have been the #1 team when it comes in the entire NBA when it comes to holding opponents. Total score points per game, it was at 98 points a game. #1 again. And amid all of the break up the Jaylen, break up the Jason, all of those, and it's just crazy. Regardless of both of them coming out and saying we want to be here, those storylines are still everywhere. So regardless of that, you still had these two gentlemen as the third highest scoring tandem in the entire NBA. And oh, by the way, when it comes to duos of 25 and under, they actually lead the entire NBA at near 50 points a game combined, right at 49.7. Now, going into this game, guys, we had no Time Lord, no Rob Williams, unfortunately, no Marcus Smart, which would mean Dennis Schroeder would actually be the starter. Not all bad, because as a starter this year, Dennis Schroeder is actually averaging right around 19 points a game. And as I mentioned in the box score, he was my player of the game for the Celtics, as he was phenomenal. And he actually has been great over this run recently, especially if you subtract out just that Philly performance. He's been playing very, very well, arguably a top 2 or 3 player for the Celtics over this recent stretch. You had Terry Rozier, former Celtics, returning here. He was a part of some of those great 2018 playoff runs, part of the 2018-2019, failed dynasty team. I actually covered both of those in my Rewind in Time series if you haven't checked those out. But yeah, Terry Rozier coming back to Boston, like I said, he absolutely shredded us tonight. Going into the game, first half, it was really a lot of hustle, a lot of second chance points. Dennis attacking, missing layups, but then getting his own rebounds. Like I said, a lot of the hustle there. As I mentioned, both Jason Tatum and Grant Williams were in foul trouble, 3 to 4 fouls in the first half, so they were pretty much on the bench. I gave you the example of Grant. Just to tell you how this game was going, the Celtics missed 12 out of their last 13 field goal attempts to end the half, and it was on a 5-15 run. Now again, Dennis Schroeder was very solid throughout. JB, not too bad. He had a quiet game, quiet performance, nothing too flashy. And as I mentioned, JT just pretty much struggled throughout. Now again, this team did what the team does best, and that is consistently shoot terrible. Now, what do I mean by that? The Celtics shot 30% from 3, 43% from the field. Whereas Charlotte, 41% from 3, 49% from the field. We'll get more into that in a second. But throughout the game itself, especially in the fourth quarter, because the Celtics would mount a comeback, and they would pretty much close the gap, get within about 6 points, 8 points. So, for example, as the game was coming to a conclusion, they'd get within 6. LaMelo Ball hit a huge 3 to put the Hornets up a little bit and stop the run. Then they get a little bit of momentum, come back again, get within 6. Terry Rozier hits a nasty step back, actually sidestep, 3. And that was pretty much the dagger at that point. But at that point, guys, just another note just to point out, this fourth quarter for the Celtics, they were walking on eggshells. They were literally in the bonus with 8 minutes left in the game. And in addition to that, the Celtics did not attempt a free throw for the remaining 8 minutes of the fourth quarter. So they, like I said, were in the bonus, and they did not take any free throw attempts. That just kind of lets you know when it comes to the attacking and drawing fouls. Final score, 111-102. This puts the Boston Celtics right back at 500. 23-23 on the season, putting the Hornets now at 25 wins and 20 losses. Now, positives, the Boston Celtics still have won 5 out of the last 6 and 7 out of the last 11 games. Now, as I mentioned, looking at the Charlotte Hornets, man, what a squad, and a young squad at that. When you look at, Melo Ball and Terry Rozier, Miles Bridges, Gordon Hayward, Kelly Oubre, who killed us, by the way, PJ Washington, Plumlee. And if you've seen the box score, so you've seen how they performed tonight. But on the season, you got Melo, who's 20 years old. He's averaging 19.7 in the half and nearly 8 assists. You got Terry averaging nearly 20 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists. I know, 27 years old. I know Gordon didn't play that well tonight, but he's averaging 17 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists on the season. And then, oh, by the way, Miles Bridges, who's a borderline all-star, averaging 20 points, 7.5 rebounds, and nearly 4 assists. And the beauty of it is you've got both Miles and Melo on rookie contracts. Now, they're going to have to play, they're going to have to pay Miles at the end of this year. But the beauty is they've got Gordon 2 more years at $30 million a season, and right when his contract's ending is when they would have to, LaMelo's extension would start kicking in. So it really is planned brilliantly. They're going to have a max in Melo. I don't know if Bridges will get a max, but he'll probably be one of those, 25 to 30 million kind of players, not quite a max. And then you got Terry Rozier, who makes, somewhere between 21 and 25 million over the next 4 years. So those 3 being the core, and then the potential to bring in maybe one more max player. I really like this Charlotte team. I mentioned Kelly Oubre. He's averaging 17 points on the year, guys. What about Plumlee, averaging 7 and 7? You got PJ Washington, who's averaging 10 and 5 off the bench. He's actually having a kind of a down year, but he's a career 12 and 6, and he's a 38% 3-point shooter. So my point is, this Charlotte team, especially if they can keep it together, being young, you got Miles Bridges at 23, LaMelo Ball at 20, Terry Rozier is 26, 27, Kelly Oubre is 26. So I like this core, and if they can keep it together and maybe add one more, high caliber player. I've actually heard some rumors about possibly PJ Washington being sent out for a Tobias Harris, or John Collins, whoever, but depending on who they can bring back, that Charlotte Hornets team is going to be very intriguing in a few years from now. Once as LaMelo approaches his mid-20s, and because him and Miles Bridges, that is going to be a scary tandem. You know what I mean? That's going to be a nasty 1-2 punch as they continue to grow and evolve together. Now, on the Celtics side, guys, this was just one of those games, especially without Marcus Smart, because LaMelo just really did what he wanted. His ability to just attack and his handles, and just never picking up his handles, and just the passes. That one pass he had, he stretched around, passed behind the back to the Plumlee, who was actually cutting, perfect timing. It's just brilliant. He had a triple-double. Like I said, he does turn the ball over, but still, you look at Kelly Oubre, who was just challenging Jason Tatum, in his grill. He's just that player that you hate, when you're playing against him, but you love him if he's on your team. Spark off the bench. But like I said, looking at the Celtics, now, their shooting I mentioned earlier, they've been terrible this entire year. We know that. This tonight, 30% from 3, as I mentioned, and 43% from the field, right? But if you were to subtract Jason Tatum, just Jason Tatum, that 30% goes up to nearly 37%, and that 43 goes up to nearly 48+%. So just by removing his terrible shooting night, the shooting splits actually become somewhat, respectable, because if you look at all other stats, with the exception to the 9 additional rebounds they had over us, almost everything else was pretty much identical. I'm talking about assists, steals, turnovers, points in the paint. So for Tatum, this was the 5th time this season he went without hitting a single 3-pointer. And there's actually also been 10 games where he's actually hit only one. So 15 total games where he's only hit 1 or less, shooting a career low 31.7%, and that was going into the game. And even Ime Udoka himself stated that a lot of these were really good looks, as in wide open. He stated 5 of them at least were wide open. So, again, I'm not going to panic, you know what I mean? This was one of those games that was disappointing. We pretty much got handled start to finish, but that was a very talented Charlotte Hornets team, so I don't feel too bad, you know what I mean? It's one of those things. We've won still 5 out of the last 7, 7 out of the last 11. Still, I think we're right around 6-4 in the month of January. So, not too disappointed, and still not having Rob Williams, that's huge, especially as well as he's been playing. Don't forget, guys, we've been talking about him as a potential 3rd star right now because of how well he's been playing. So, not having him, especially against this team, I think he would have fed in the, in the paint. So, and of course, having Marcus Smart in that defense, being able to put him on Terry or LaMelo, that would have been great. Having him and Jay Rich opposed to Schroeder. Schroeder played good, but still, those are two, especially LaMelo. That's a big boy. He's what, 6'6", 6'7", so that's a hard task, you know what I mean, for a normal-sized point guard. That's a forward with a point guard skill set. But, and as far as some of the storylines I was mentioning, I'm not going to really get into it, but what I've been hearing is that, for one, they're shopping pretty much everyone with the exception to what I'll say is the big three now of Rob and the Jays. And that's including Smart, Schroeder, Richardson. Supposedly there's some drama, and as we know there has been for years when it comes to Smart and Jaylen Brown, and there might be some thoughts around maybe the team, the locker room, maybe Marcus Smart has kind of lost them. It's kind of these words weren't exactly said, but that is kind of what I was taking it. It seems like, there's a little bit of lack of respect and, when it comes to listening to Marcus Smart. So we have seen this core when it comes to Smart, the Jays, and now Rob, but especially Smart and the Jays for several years, and they haven't been able to get to that certain level. So depending on what is in return, I wouldn't be completely against. Like I said, I've heard suggestions of Smart and Schroeder being packaged to get back, player X. Depending on who player X is, if that's DeJounte Murray, sign me up. But if that is someone, it has to be the right player is basically what I am saying. You also hear that, like I said, Schroeder, with his contract situation, and it's a far shot that he'll be back in Boston. But again, I'm not just trying to give him up for a pair of, seconds and honestly, that's probably the reality of what will come to fruition. But I would actually like them to try to package him with like Al Horford because of his contract. He's on a partially guaranteed. He's making $27 million. He's clearly slowing down as the season progresses, and we're only at the midpoint. If you really want to push into the playoffs, what is he going to have left? I would like to see them package them two together, and we're hearing a lot of rumors that actually could be in play because it seems like there's some mystery center that the Celtics are supposed to be landing. I have no idea who it is. I haven't even heard a name. I know some centers that we haven't really talked about because I have to assume it's someone that you haven't heard. I know Yusuf Nurkic out in Portland, the Trailblazers big man. He's like 25, 26, very solid, 13 and 10 kind of guy. I know he's available. Maybe Richaun Holmes from the Sacramento Kings, another 13 and 10 kind of guy. I'm just throwing out some centers that we haven't really talked about on teams that I know are available. But then again, Maybe they're just referring to Al Horford and Dennis Schroeder for, Miles Turner and player whoever to get the contracts to match out. We'll have to see, guys. We could speculate on these rumors all day, every day. There is several websites that specialize in just making content around, certain trades that are probably never, if they charted every single trade rumor and actually how many come to fruition, I would be stunned by the percentage. It's probably less than 1%. So, like I said, don't want to spend too much time on it, but these are things, especially just wanted to mention in case something actually does come out to be true and a story breaks, we'd actually like to, go into more detail at that time. So, figured it's at least worth mentioning. Around the league, also, guys, you had Joel Embiid. You have two of the best bigs, I think, of all time playing in today's NBA. And we'll look back, later on in life and really appreciate these two for what they are. You had Joel Embiid go for 50 points and 12 rebounds against Orlando. And immediately, what am I doing? Oh, my God, he's the best in the NBA. I knew it. He was the best. And then a few hours later, Nikola Jokic, Joker, follows that up with a 49-point, 14 rebound, 10 assist, triple-double. By the way, it's his third straight triple-double, and it was an overtime thriller against the Clippers where he dimed up Aaron Gordon as time expired for the game-winning shot. Those three straight triple-doubles against the Lakers, Utah Jazz, and the Clippers. Both of them. So 50 points from Embiid, 49-point triple-double from Jokic. Guys, thank you so much for your time. Me and Bobby We, again, want to welcome you to Celtics Corner. We appreciate you. This is something that we are very excited about, and we think it is going to be an amazing opportunity and an amazing platform for all Celtics creators and anyone who is really interested in taking that next step and potentially starting a career. I am literally the perfect example, guys. Like I said, several months ago, I was just starting. I literally didn't have any idea. I thought I knew, but then all of a sudden I was overwhelmed by everything that really went into it. I had people like Adam Taylor and especially my man Bobby, who really took me under the wing and set me on a great path of direction. And I just started to practice repetition, and you slowly start to get more familiar with these systems and the different programs that you're using. And you'll be surprised how quickly you start to just progress and actually things start to click. So reach out to me, reach out to Bobby. Let's see, maybe we can get you on a segment and give it a try. And actually, we're looking for pregame, postgame, podcast, anything, any idea you have, please reach out to one of us. But otherwise, Jags to Riches, James Peters on behalf of Celtics Corner. Thank you so much, guys. Take care.